Merlin here, and you're watching Adventures with Merlin, where every day is an adventure. I'm watching. Up top. Okay. You got that far? Yeah. All right, now. Maybe you can kind of make it a little bit more. Oh yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to. Yeah. I just want to see where we're at. Yeah. All right, that's about it. I think that's as far as we're going. Get your wood under there. Oh, okay. You may have two from the back. I got myself in a little trouble with this strap here. I'm going to try to release it. Okay. Watch yourself. All ready? Okay. Out of here. Well, not just yet. I might be able to get it in a little bit further. Okay. Maybe. Let me back up a little bit.
we might have been hearing clanking the other day in the video. It's just not even bolted down. Motor's not bolted down. That's the trough of it.
I saw them in there.
Yeah.
Really? How many's off it? You know what? They must have just fallen off. This guy didn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah. It looks like 4 of them.
Oh shit.
There's 2.
That'll help.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, they must have just fell into this. They'd be metric if you got more.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh well, at least we know now what the clunking noise was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's, I saw those and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Well, before we learned this
That
thing
must have been the factory didn't even tuck it.
probably. Trying to rewire that when we kept them wires.
Well, they're all color coded.
Yeah.
You can't mess it up.
Yeah, just
Brown,
depends
white,
on-
there's white with a green stripe.
as long as it's long enough to make it back to it.
Well, what happened is they fell inside this thing, because this is a stretchy, so
Uh-huh.
I would cut this back.
Yeah.
You'll have to get another one of these.
Yeah.
But,
Oh well, how much do you get?
you know, they should have a plug or something.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so we can move it. I wish I had a longer 2x4, but,
What about the shoes and the,
well, you mark up your floor real bad.
oh, I'm not worried about the floor. Looks like it's sliding anyway.
You try this here, let me have this, and I'm gonna try from the back. I think I'll be able to.
If you can lift it, I can try to pull it around.
No, be careful of that.
Oh, okay.
Here's what we're gonna have to do though. If you can get over here
Mm-hmm.
and move that wood as I move it, I can get pretty far with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I try to do that.
Let me lift it up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Hang on a second. Why is that? You got a big adjustable?
Yeah. I remember what drawer I put it in. Yeah, I've got one. Figure out which drawer I put them in. Be another whole story. Oh, here they are. This is the biggest adjustable I have. What you do with that other thing? Probably one of the bolts now or something. probably.
Yeah, let's make sure they're all up.
Yeah. I think this one was down because I think that was moving as I'm lowering it. Probably why it was doing weird. Yeah.
That should be off by now.
Okay. Did you get that other vacuum back there?
I don't think it needs it.
Oh, okay.
Look, there isn't even one in there
It's not.
because of the electrical box.
Oh, wow.
I never noticed.
Sure ain't.
All right, let's see. All right, move that piece of wood again. Okay.
Okay, I'll move it again.
Okay.
push it backward. Not sliding too much that way. It seemed like it was sliding better when you did it.
Yeah, but I can't get back there and go up.
Oh, good. Okay, this not falling off this piece of wood on this side. And the that takes over on some of it. See if I can. Okay.
Over here and get mine.
Okay.
And I'm gonna, and we'll do the front.
Yeah.
Okay. Got this front one. You may have to shim it with some of that aluminum.
Yeah. Put the aluminum. Get this back when it's almost off there.
Ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to come on that side.
Okay.
We're gonna slide the head back about 4 or 5 inches so we can get good. Maybe not even that far. Well, maybe 4 inches to get good working. You got the room back there now. Now the thing is we got. Let's put. You got these small pieces of that aluminum. Just either that, or you got the other one. Do you have square sockets? Like ratchet sockets or 6-point or 12-point? Like 5/8?
5/8. How big a one do you need then?
Just a short one.
Is that right there?
Is that a 6-point? No, a 6-point. We need like, it's got to go over a square.
Oh.
So we need like a 12-point. Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what
Well, it should be
yeah, there you
metric.
go. There's 5/8.
Yeah, it's probably metric, but let's see if this
Oh,
one
okay.
may be bigger than the other.
I got the metric ones here also.
Yeah, it almost fits. No, that's too big. Try that. That's too big. That's a little bit too big. Next slide. That's the 5/8.
Oh, is that 5/8?
Yeah. Yeah, we need it just above 5/8 in metric.
Okay, so we probably need 17 millimeter. Try this one. So it's 17 millimeter.
I'm gonna leave you this custom wrench.
Okay.
I ground it yesterday.
Oh,
It fits these, it fits these.
Oh,
I had to take these off. I was gonna lift the head.
yeah. little closer. To the top. Oh, it's not totally straight.
No. I like to type with pencil. Now, do you know how to square a head?
No.
Have an intercol? So this is just a reference. It's not,
Right.
no. You got indicators. What you do is, smaller one.
If we were like an inch taller, it wouldn't be clearing it. I knew it was gonna be tight.
You put clamp on here, intercol is what we have, something similar to that. And then you have a rod, which are indicator. Usually a half pound indicator. You bring your table up. Run it around in a circle, no bigger than your table. Just a couple of thousandths. And then you can fudge it a little tiny bit. You gotta leave these kind of, not super loose.
Yeah.
You wanna be able to just take this and just nudge it a little because you're talking about
Yeah.
when you finally get close. But go on YouTube and see how they do it. It'll give you a real good idea of the problems you might have. That's how you square up a head on the mill. Indicate it into the table. Yep. Even that, this is the one for the knee. At least that's the one that came with it.
Yeah.
Now I do have the knee all the way down to keep the weight low.
Yeah.
You know? But go ahead and pull that tape off there. I guess we'll be able to get the drawbar in after we close the door.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, otherwise we'll have to move it
Have to
again.
have to move the head again. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Oh, okay. What are those?
That was when it was new. That's how they lifted it.
Oh.
They went here, they bolted here, and they lifted it with the cables.
Oh, okay.
They were still on
So
it.
the cable just went right through there.
Yeah, yeah, you don't need them on there.
Okay.
But they were still with it, so. And these for the piece of tubing over there,
Yeah.
for your coolant line, it goes from the back here down to this one here,
Right there, yeah.
down to the bottom. If you clean that all up, it's not right.
Yeah, the turn.
Okay, let's go ahead and shut the door.
Yeah, I'll watch the top, make sure it don't hit, we should be good. Looks like it's clearing just fine. Alrighty,
You got plenty of room.
cool deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Pretty good where it is.
Alright. We can pour that up. If I knew it was gonna sit that nicely, I wouldn't even worry about wiring up that electric box this morning. I would have waited until another time. But yeah, that doesn't even block the electric box or anything. Perfect. Yeah.
Tighten this up, then you got your yeah. You could actually put a motor on this, pull it
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But you know, the only time you're going to use that is if you're using a board. Not made for children.
Yeah.
Not using a board very often. You don't need it. And then that's locked up. So just loosen up just one turn.
So what I'm going to do today is show you the proper way to wire up a Arco Roto-phase 3-phase converter to your magnetic starter switch. So this is a diagram I actually found on Google that I saved and I put into my text file here. So on your rotary phase converter, you're going to have 3 wires coming out. One's going to be labeled T1, T2, and T3. T3 is going to be doing the output leg for your 3rd phase. Okay, so they've got the line comes out, goes up, and comes in to the center connector of your 3-phase switch. You know, or your fused disconnect. You can see how it says, and you see it's coming into the 3rd leg. Okay, your other 2 legs are tying in to T1 and T2 here. See, there's T1 and T2 for your 3 phases out. And then you have just your 2 lines coming in, you know, load 1 and load 2 coming in, or well, line 1 and line 2 coming on off your single phase 220. So I'm going to show you how I wired this up. And the problem is the wiring from your big milling machine is a lot thicker wire than can go into this little switch, so I had to find a smaller wire that would fit into there. So what I did, so I could tie everything together, is I got one of these air conditioner disconnect units here that would normally have the piece that, you know, plugs in there, you know, to connect everything. Well, you don't want to do that because that would just be making a direct short. You know, if you had that plugged in, that would just be making a direct short across everything because you just got 4 terminals. And on an air conditioner, it's not made for 3-phase. So in effect, what I'm doing is I'm chunking that. That's not even going to be used anymore. And I'm just using it as a terminal block. You know, 4-position terminal block. So now, as you saw in the diagram, you have to have your 3rd phase off the phase converter. So this is the wire here coming out of the phase converter here, this white wire here. So what I did is I ran the orange wire here coming in, powering off the phase converter. where it's kicking back in through here, coming out the connector, coming all the way to the front, and now feeding into the L2 terminal. So then the regular single phase lines coming in off your wiring from the breaker box. That'd be this wire here. I don't have hooked up right now, just disconnected it. But you'll have I've got the black wire going into line input 3, the red wires line input 1, and like I say, line input 2 is the one going back in and connecting to the center line of the phase converter. Okay, then the other 2 wires coming out of the phase converter here, kind of hard to see, is you got a black wire that's going into the same connector, but the black wires on the input coming out of here, coming off the back side of the switch. See, we got T3, T1, and then T2. So T2 here is the blue wire. That would be what's feeding from the red wire coming through the phase converter. So see, it's going to the center terminal here. And then you just have your red wire going from the milling machine itself, your machinery, or the milling machine, lathe, whatever you're running, that's 223 phase. It's going in right there to the red wires there. The black wires are all connected over here on that side. And like I say, the blue wire here and your center white wire, that's the third phase, third leg of the 3 phase. So that's how that's wired up. It was a major pain in the butt to wire that switch up. What my plan is, I'm going to mount the whole switch assembly in this box on the back side of the milling machine itself, and then I'll wire it into the breaker box up there. I did test it last night. Originally my plan was I was going to mount these boxes on the wall, but as I started drilling into the concrete wall, the concrete was just crumbling like powder, and it was like, okay, no screw's going to hold into this, so had to redo my idea, and I'm just going to mount it to this back door of the milling machine itself. So I'm just going to mount it right there to that middle sheet metal door, and that way I'll just be able to reach back there and hit the button to turn on the 3-phase converter. There's the 3-phase converter down there. So anyway, that's the correct way to wire up a Roto-phase 3-phase converter. Pretty simple if you have a diagram and understand it. It took me a little while to wrap my head around how to wire up that switch, because I got the switch on Amazon, and this is the crappy instructions that came with that switch, and really didn't tell you a whole heck of a lot. I don't know if you can even see much of it, but yeah, this instructions here was a cluster to figure out. I was like, are you kidding me? So yeah, the whole switch thing itself wasn't even mounted in the box. It was just laying in there, because it has a clip where you take the whole thing out. I had to drill out my own holes there. It shows in the thing you can just punch them out. No, you can't. I had to use a Dremel tool to cut those circles out, because they're not even cut all the way through the box. So kind of disappointed about that, because I actually tried to punch the thing out and actually shattered part of the box. But yeah, I was able to, like I say, cut it the rest of the way out with the Dremel tool. So it's going to work. But yeah, that magnetic contactor starter switch, as they call it. I mean, even this piece here, that little metal part right there, was just laid in the box. I was like, okay, we got to figure out how all this switch stuff even works. So yeah, anyway, I think this switch was like about $39 on Amazon, but it worked. It does work. So it's the right rating and everything. I don't even think the box even told much about what it was. It just says single phase magnetic switch made in China. Of course it's made in China. Where else would it be made? So anyway, it did work. I had it hooked up last night and did test it. And that's the way you wire up a three-phase converter to run a big milling machine. So like I say, here's the diagram. So you can see the diagram again. There's your T1 and T2 outputs that connect into your lines coming out of the switch, and then your T3 is the one that's feeding for your third leg of the three-phase. And you can see it says three-phase, the output there. So see, I got my T1 is my red wire, T2 is the black wire, T3 is the white wire. This is how I've got it wired in. And then that wire into the center terminal of the switch, input T1 wires to T1 wire output. So anyway, hope that helps somebody else understand how to wire up a roto-phase three-phase converter. Okay, so last part of our video we showed everything not finished up. We've now got everything wired into the power box to our switch here. There's the three-phase converter sitting down there on the floor. So if we hit the green button here, that's going to activate the converter. You hear the converter's on now. And you can see we have our light is working. Turn on our power switch now. There's the milling machine running. And if we turn this on here, there's our table feed working. So everything is working like it should. So once I bolt down the table, we're going to be ready to do some milling. So that's the three-phase converter down there running, you hear. And then we hit the switch right here. And there you go. So that's how we ended up. That's how I ended up mounting the boxes to the side. Got her wired into the breaker box now. And as you can see, everything there is up and running. So this is Merlin. Thanks for watching, and we're out.